Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this session. My name is Jonathan Moss. I'm a lawyer. I'm a partner and I'm head of the transport sector at DWF, which is a very large global law firm, and I'm based in London. Now, when I say lawyer, people often flinch. And I don't know whether people know what the collective noun for a lawyer is, what you call a group of lawyers, because my client told me that recently. Apparently, it's an invoice. So I can see a few invoices there this afternoon. Anyway, I have a keen interest in AI. We've recently, in my firm, has released a report called Delivering the Goods, where we look at big data analytics, we look at the Internet of Things, blockchain, just to see what impact those modes have on transport and transport technology. When you look at artificial intelligence, in our poll of 250 CEOs, CTOs and COOs, we see that what is holding back artificial intelligence advancements primarily is the lack of skills. So young adults at university aren't studying to enhance their skills. Concern about loss of jobs, the employment market, and also data security. So issues of cyber liability and issue of protection. So we're going to talk about some of those issues today. And I'm going to pass over to the panel right now, who are going to introduce themselves, explain about who they are and what they do, and then we'll have our debate. Thank you.
Should I start? Yeah. Hi, I'm Skuler. I'm co-founder and CEO of Intuition Robotics, and we build digital companions. Some of you guys know us for our product LEQ, which is a robot for older adults to help avoid loneliness and isolation. But recently, we're also doing digital companions for the automotive industry. Our first customer is Toyota, but there are many more to come.
And my name is Matthieu. I'm the program lead for autonomous driving and vehicle dynamics in Siemens Digital Industry Software. And in that part of Siemens, what we develop is a engineering environment, a simulation and test solutions environment to develop vehicles or other mechatronic systems. And my responsibility is on bringing coherency and consistency in that solution tool chain and services offering to develop autonomous driving vehicles. And the connection to AI is that we then focus on generating a synthetic environment to train neural networks and to do validation verification in a controlled environment.
Good afternoon. My name is Elron. For the past 6 years, I'm leading the business development at OSR Enterprises, a Swiss-based tier 1 supplier with extensive R&D site in Israel. This is one of the reasons why we're physically here in this event. My role is mainly taking care of strategic customers, OEM customers of ours, as well as strategic partners throughout the supply chain.
Good afternoon, I'm Sophie Schmidtlin. I'm the head of advanced engineering for Renault-Nissan and Mitsubishi, taking care of technology development in our main strategic focus area, which are autonomous driving and ADAS, connected car and EV, and also taking care of all sorts of technology like lightweight dynamic performance. The Alliance has been opening a lab yesterday in Israel. The purpose is to enhance our screening and scouting activity here in this very rich ecosystem, and this is as a complement to the other open labs we already have in Silicon Valley and in Shanghai, because we are sure that the new technologies will come from outside, and we are here to build a bridge to bring them in our products on board and off board.
Thank you very much to the distinguished panel. I'd like to start by quoting the Chief Technical Officer of Reply. He referred to artificial intelligence as a game changer. It's transformative, it's revolutionary, and companies that don't embrace AI are destined to fail. Now, I'd like to ask Sophie what she considers her reaction is to that quotation, and whether in connection with the automotive industry you've already seen companies fail, or what lies on the horizon.
AI comes from different, most simple application slowly to automotive industry. This is used already in different areas. For instance, there is some text creation through AI. We have some very known videos about Barack Obama having full text creation on his mouse. So AI is used in many domains and is slowly coming to the automotive industry, starting with the Mobileye camera. And then we are at this moment developing different new technologies involving AI. And the automotive industry is more learning about AI. They are not the primary technology pusher, but we are more and more getting involved into those kind of technologies.
Matthieu, if I can turn to you, do you feel that that's right? Is the automotive industry at the forefront of AI, or is there a certain distance to travel?
No, and I think what Sophie says, it's not. So I think the automotive industry was not on the forefront, but is actually a quick follower, I would say. But for me, what I think is that we are in a transition where AI was something specific, and people ask, do we have AI? Where we are now moving into a domain where AI is just part of engineering, right? AI is a solution for specific problems, and it's a very broad solution that can be applied in multiple domains, but it's quickly getting less exotic, I think, than it was, and that's a very good thing. And there's probably still markets where you can do without AI, but there's many more where AI will just bring so much more efficiency than if you would stay without, that it's, I think, likely that companies will be disrupted if they don't embark on AI technology.
Thank you. And now looking at the human element and the interactive exchange between AI and individuals, if I can turn now to autonomous vehicles and self-driving cars, how is the decision-making process enhanced by AI? So how is the driver's reaction enhanced by AI? If I can turn to you, Dor, to give us
Sure. So first of all, I have a confession to make. I hate the word AI. I think it just clouds the issue and very hard to understand. Usually in the industry, when we talk about this buzzword AI, what we mean is machine learning, which is just pattern recognition, right? You show a machine 10,000 pictures of a cat, it will then identify if the next picture is a cat or not. I think your question on decision making is a really interesting one. And here we're starting to talk about higher levels of understanding and intelligence, where it's not simple pattern recognition, but it's what should I do as opposed to what is. And what we focus on is in the in-cabin experience. There are much smarter people than us that are building safe cars that can get you from A to B without running over somebody. We don't know how to do that at Intuition Robotics. What we do know how to do is how to manage the teamwork between the human and the machine. How to create an experience where the human feels comfortable in an environment where they're co-driving with a machine. Sometimes the machine hands off to them, and that has to be managed. And it's dynamic because we're all different, and I might be texting my wife, and not paying attention. And sometimes we need to hand off back. But also things like ADAS, right? You're driving your car, the driving experience hasn't changed for decades, and all of a sudden the car hits the brakes or doesn't let you turn left. Like, what's up with that? What's going on? So at the end of all of this technology, there's also a very human part of the experience. And we need to pay attention to that as an industry. We need to make it enjoyable, but also feel safe. We need to help users become safer drivers with a protective bubble of technology that takes over from them in cases of danger or sometimes drives instead of them, and also create a unique customer experience inside of the vehicle. So as far as decision making, that's where it becomes interesting. It's not user control. It's not car turn on the lights. It's the car approaching the user, sensing or anticipating that they might be worried, trying to understand that they might feel uncomfortable, understand that they might need some management right now, and being there for them to create a deeper, stronger relationship. And that's what we're trying to do.
Nia, do you endorse those comments? Do you agree with that? Can you give your view about the human element and self-driving and how AI or machine learning responds?
Yes, so I would say that those remarks are resonating quite heavily with also what we do as OSR. Actually, our approach towards AI and in general, I would say, massive computing, onboard computing, is look at the practical manner on how to implement it into the car. And this is why we developed the Evolver platform, which is currently its third generation already. And this is a physical brain, an AI, sorry, you don't like AI. It's a smart brain, a learning brain with neural network and learning capabilities, which is built into the car, embedded into the car. And through a managed process, we also help the car makers to alter, to evolve the entire E&D architecture of the car and simplifying it into a matter or into a way that enables to extract the maximum out of a single brain in the car. So it means that the logic aspects, the logic elements related to the human-centric approach, as well as L4, L3, ADAS Plus, and ADAS functions are all supported from the same physical platform.
And when we talk about platforms, we often jump to the harnessing of data. And my next question is that there are certain jurisdictions internationally where you can be more liberal with data. So there aren't the stringent laws that you have in the EU. China perhaps is an example. And my question for Sophie, lucky you've got the legal question, is will those countries be able to prosper and benefit swifter than those that have those restrictions?
I think you are the lawyer, I am not. This is a tricky question. This is a kind of philosophical question. For sure, with more open data, the field for AI implementation is much wider, but the respect of the privacy is much lower. So honestly, I have a European mind, so I would feel more comfortable with a protected data management. But it's more a philosophical question. Here we are in the automotive industry, so I would prefer to stick to this professional world.
And Matthieu, again, not straying away from the automotive industry. So we're looking at this question in the context of automotive. What are your views? I don't know whether you can share the views of your company, presumably not, but independently, what do you think about that?
I'm also very European in that sense, but I think from my perspective, I think the quick answer is in anonymized data. And we strongly focus on generating synthetic data out of recorded data. So I think you can very early in the data acquisition process move away from privacy-sensitive data, right? For training neural networks, we don't need license plates or images of specific faces, which is different for the telecom industry, where the face recognition is a very important thing. But I think for the automotive industry, we can very nicely work with anonymized data, and based on that also generate synthetic data to create actually the training material that you need, rather than do everything with recorded data coming out of the field.
Okay, thank you. And now with a concentration on the technology and straying slightly away from the topic of automotive, where can this AI technology, machine learning technology move to next? What other sectors, what other areas are we able to see the same benefits that we're using in automotive?
Yeah, so I think we're going to see this affect most of our lives, and I really resonate with what you said before, that it's going to just be a component of everything we do. For our, again, small startup based in Israel, the first mission we took is to help the elderly, with all due respect to cars, and we love cars, and we're here on stage in a mobility event. When you look at society in 2019, we're getting older as a society, we live longer, and the elderly actually are, many of them, about half of them, are lonely and isolated. So here's something you wouldn't have saw as one of the first implementations of cognitive computing, social robotics, character-driven machines, but here they are, built for people in their 80s and 90s to great success. And I think you're going to see, I hope, right, so far so good. And I think you're going to really see that innovative companies, brands from all over the world are going to see building blocks of how can I now not just pattern recognize, but how can I understand situations, how can I make decisions, and how can I animate characters that are part of my brand that could be relevant from energy to kitchens to hospitality to airports to the elderly. And that's how we're going to see it. We're not going to see it as amorphic technology. We're going to see it as very specific experiences that are part of our lives.
In the field of marine insurance and shipping, for example, what we're seeing now is that the old format of a proposal form in order to obtain insurance is changing. It's all becoming automated. Similarly, if a claim is notified, those claims are no longer handled by claims managers or claims supervisors. There's a process in place. There are robots that are now undertaking those tasks. Neil, where do you think that those technologies are going to move to? What sorts of sectors and businesses?
So again, I'm talking from a position as a company that decided to focus on automotive and to implement, I would say, machine learning and AI and centralized computing methods in automotive. But I think that a car is an extremely complex machine, and helping doing this reduction and evolvement, movement of the architecture from a totally distributed architecture with black boxes all around, a very complex time trigger mechanism, into a central processing unit. It's a challenge that you can see, I would say, reproduced also in other complex engineering setups. So talking about an entire smart city setup, we do see some of our partners, the OEMs, are also looking at this realm, looking to implement some of their, I would say, DNA also in the smart city area and smart infrastructure area. We see smart plants, Industry 4.0 also embracing this AI. And again, the objective here is to take or reduce complexity from a totally distributed network into a much more centralized network. So we see this as a big or major catalyst in making transformation, as well as implementing centralized computing systems running also neural network.
Can I react? Yeah, because and that factory automation part, Siemens is of course a big player in these things. And this year we've also launched the AI module for the PLCs that are in almost every factory all over the world. Is that you have already a lot of sensor data, and to build something meaningful out of the sensor data that you collect anyhow and do something more smart in the factory itself is a very logical application. And finally, I want to also raise the video referee in football. I mean, there's now people watching that screen, and there's lots of disputes even after watching the screen. This is something that we can easily replace by much smarter algorithms than by human beings, I think.
Well, that's interesting. So you've talked about VAR. Nir's mentioned smart cities, smart mobility, smart transport. How is that going to impact the job market of the future? Neil, what are your views? Because presumably when everything is much more streamlined, there'll be nobody left to do the work. Is that right?
So actually, currently, we are employing our developers between two major R&D sites, one in Switzerland at the HQ, and the major R&D site here in Israel that we launched already in 2013 and employs already about 160 engineers. So it's already quite significant in terms of manpower. In the upcoming 24 months, we already plan to open 2 new R&D sites globally, might be even a third one. The interesting thing is that when we looking for the places to open our new sites, it typically needs to be nearby to the OEM decision-making area or nerve system. So it's either a major plant or a HQ or major R&D facility. Typically, when we're approaching these areas, either in Europe, North America, or other places in the world, we do see, I would say, a major potential talent pool. And we see a lot of mechanical engineers, we see a lot of process engineers, a lot of production line engineers. A part of our, I would say, mission is to, I would say, hook to the talent pool existing there with corporations that we do with universities as well, and start diversify the manpower in terms of new talents and new requirements that we bring to the automotive industry from our angle as a supplier of AI capabilities, for instance. So we inject and educate new professions in wherever we go. So we do, for instance, we're looking for machine learning experts and AI researchers and cybersecurity researchers, system architects, embedded architects, DevOps. And this is, I would say, a major diversity factor where we are tapping into, I would say, typical automotive landscape.
So rather than jobs being lost, it looks like jobs will be generated.
Replaced.
But the jobs that will be generated will be in highly skilled areas of employment and areas of work.
That's a diversity that we see. I think that it's better than the headcount on the OEM side will decline. It's better to, from our perspective, to help it diverse and reinvent itself for the next generation vehicles.
Of the 250 CEOs and CTOs that we polled, 68% said that a direct result of the emergence of AI will be changes in the job market.
Yeah, millions of people are going to get canned. Yes, millions of people are going to lose their job.
Thanks
for
for not
sure.
sitting on the fence there.
Okay, I mean, think of how many, I think in the US there are 2 million professional drivers. Yeah, you're not going to suggest for your child to learn how to be a professional driver in the world of autonomous vehicles. So, I mean, I don't think we should make light of it. I've been on many of these panels where people are like, yes, we'll go up the food chain. And no, we're going to have massive unemployment, and it's going to be brutal. And we're going to need to understand to deal with that, because productivity will go up, and there'll be a lot more free time. But, how many people do you need to program a robot? Once you programmed one, you can manufacture 1 million of those. So we as a society, I think we need to be honest with the fact that there will be massive upheaval, massive unemployment. There'll be few people that have super critical skills, but when you talk about a population of billions of people, that will not be the majority. And we need to have an honest discussion and deal with that.
But if that comes with productivity and more free time, then there's not necessarily an issue, right?
Maybe in a utopian world where we will find purpose, waking up and drawing, all of us, but not all of us are Monet and not all of us are Mozart.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll go back to gardening in our backyards and being more sustainable. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be awful. I just think we need to be honest with the fact that huge change is coming, and we need to not sweep it under the rug and say new jobs will be created. We need to deal with this, and we need to have a discussion about that.
And when we talk about change, does this change translate into the way that humans are going to be interacting with machines? Is that what AI is going to do? Dor, what do you think?
Yes. I think we are, as demonstrated from the example of the cars, we will have AI teammates that don't do what we tell them, but actually enhance us, give us superpowers, if you will. They anticipate our needs. They're fueled by sensors. A lot of them are invisible to our sight or our hearing, so they have more sensing data that we just don't have. And they try to augment us and help us make better decisions, be safer drivers, be better children to our aging parents, what have you. And we will all probably have multiple of these different companions in different domains. When we cook, when we drive, at work, that are skilled and domain specific as opposed to general all-knowing AI beings in our lifetime.
All right, so we're just coming to the final segment, which I'm going to call the next 5 years. If I can start with our panelists and start with Sophie at the end, what's going to happen in terms of driving AI in the next 5 years? How is the landscape going to change?
Through AI and through autonomous driving, cars will accumulate more and more data. And probably we are going also to a bigger interaction between the car and the infrastructure. For instance, car could also accumulate data to improve the maps, to send data back to the cloud and improve the maps, to go to collaborative approach between cars and infrastructure. This is a big paradigm change.
Okay, thank you very much. Nir.
So, AD is a rolling event. It's, I would say it's shaping factors are legislation, infrastructure, like Sophie mentioned, geography, urban mobility, highway mobility, transportation, commercial transportation, light vehicles. So we do see a lot of diversity today. I would say that, again, our technology was developed to meet the L4 requirements. So if I can answer to you in terms of AI, more towards AD, we do see today some of the leading OEMs taking a subset of the solution today already to L3, going down to ADAS, ADAS Plus, active ADAS, haptic ADAS, and some of them are going full power for L4. It's definite today, and we see this throughout all the segments of the AI safety-driven functions that we provide to our customers, that the human factor is a major part in any of these. So in-cabin monitoring, human-centric experience are inherent part of the solution.
Okay, thank you. Before I pass to Matthieu, I'm going to just add a bit of a cocktail flavor to your final 5-year projection. If you could think about the obstacles, what are the obstacles that might get in the way of the smooth path in the next 5 years?
I'm an optimist, so I have always difficulties with thinking in obstacles, but definitely acceptance will be important, right? And people tend to, especially media, tend to focus on the stuff that goes wrong to grow an anxiety about more autonomous systems and autonomous driving vehicles. My projection for the coming 5 years is a strong focus on digitalization and a move away from just collected data, but a much more modeled environment that fuels decision-making algorithms to take decisions in real time. So I would predict much more intelligence, not like trained neural network intelligence, but also intelligence coming out of models that can predict the future state, generating additional inputs into that decision-making process. So for me, the smartness is moving away from dump massive data-trained neural network applications to more adaptive smartness inside the products.
Okay, so Dor, do you agree with that we're having that shift now? What are your 5 years projection?
Yeah, so maybe since a lot of the panelists hit my points on the human aspects, I think one thing we'll probably start seeing in 5 years is how things are going to shape up in the ecosystem vis-a-vis new players. As the problems in front of autonomous driving are more of a computer science question than a mechanical engineering question, and you see the ambition of Google, Amazon, and with the latest acquisition, Apple, going into this space, I think we are going to see major shifts in power. Specifically around the user experience as well, where people are used to talking to their Alexa and their Google Assistant, and these guys are like very smartly positioning themselves with Android Auto and so on in the car. So I think we're going to see a major change where some of the larger OEMs, they're getting in front of this and are moving their brand into the cabin, into a mobility assistant or companion, if you will be in one category, and you'll have the smaller ones that maybe feel they cannot have the tools to compete with the Googles and the Amazons, becoming more hardware manufacturers where the experience will be run by the Googles and Amazons of the world. And we will see these big IT guys become major powers in automotive that we don't yet see today.
Okay, well, thank you very much. This remains for me to thank the distinguished panel, to Dor, to Matthieu, to Nir, and to Sophie for joining me on the stage today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.